Welcome back to the Mineral Grove Fantasy Football Show. This week, Episode 3 is a recap of Week 2 and a preview of Week 3. But as always, we will begin with transactions. The Washington Weasels set off the transaction log this week by cutting Deshaun Watson due to his current situation and signed Zach Pascal. Young man cut Kirk Cousins after 1 week and signed Derek Carr. Madison Area Carpet Cleaning cut Baker Mayfield. CD's Nuts cut Eric Ebron after he scored a solid 0 points on Sunday. Young man cut the Chiefs defense and signed the Bears defense. Madison Area Carpet Cleaning, with their vacant spot, signed James White from waivers. The Queso Kings cut Jared Cook and signed Rondale Moore. CD's Nuts signed Austin Hooper. Young man cut Jason Sanders after he put up 0 points as well and signed Matt Gay. Madison Area Carpet Cleaning signed Danny Dimes and cut Javonte Williams to make space on the roster. Now to the Week 2 recap. The Detroit Legends lost to the Washington Weasels. Young man lost to People's Temple by 2. Seth surprisingly beat the Queso Kings. Your Mother scored a record high in points over DMAS. And CD's Nuts came out on top over Madison Area Carpet Cleaning. The Week 2 score by Your Mother of 211.9 points is a league high across all 5 seasons, with the second most points coming in an unknown week by an unknown team in 2018, only remembered by the memory of the league members, which was estimated to be 203 points from the memory of the league collective. Now, for seasons post 2018 and 2017, obviously, we still have data. And in 2019, Week 8, People's Temple scored 199.36 points, which is the number 3. And last season, Week 7, which you'll find out more about in the league recap video from Season 4, that's coming out shortly, Queso Kings scored 197.56, putting it in 4th place all-time. Now on to the actual matchups. The Washington Weasels did beat the Detroit Legends. It was not as close of a game as we would have hoped. However, Pat Mahomes still came out, and Antonio Brown let down compared to last week, and so did Dak Prescott, both of which big performers last week. Antonio Brown was on the Detroit Legends bench, however, last week. Tyler Lockett came and showed out again for the second week in a row, scoring over 25 points with 31.8. And the Washington Weasels scored a total of 125.88, while the Detroit Legends put up 110.82. And there's the player totals between the two teams. As you can see, Amari Cooper had a big letdown week as well, comparative to last week. However, Devontae Adams and TJ Hawkinson both balled out, and obviously, as I mentioned, Pat Mahomes did. And Stephon, pretty average in comparison to his estimation. Austin Eckler having a great week this week at 22.5 points. Now on the matchup between Young Man and People's Temple. Young Man drops to 0-2 after losing to People's Temple this week. The Bucs defense. You know it's a really bad week when your defense is the best player on your team. The Bucs defense scored 19 points for Drew's team and was the best player on his team, while Jason Sanders put up a big old dud. And he ended up losing by 2 points, so it would have been nice for Jason Sanders to make 1 field goal. Jalen Hurts balled out again, put up 21.8 points. And the Juice got injured early in the game. Jarvis the Juice Landry put up 1.9 points. And People's Temple ended up winning by 2 points, 2.02. That's all he needed. But Jason Sanders couldn't even do it. There's those totals. As you can see, both teams, decent showing. Nothing too outrageous. Corey Davis did have a dud week as well. A lot of week 1 stars turning out to be duds week 2. Sterling Shepard had a great week in the flex position for Drew. And Zeke bounced back from a meh week 1 and did decent week 2, put up 17 points. Now on to the Queso Kings and Seth matchup. Alvin Kamara, projected to be the player of the game for Queso Kings, was the biggest letdown for the Queso Kings, only scoring 7 points. Calvin Ridley, nothing too spectacular compared to his expected performance, and the Queso Kings did actually end up losing this, contrary to the projections, which had the Queso Kings blowing out Seth. Seth, as always, he has pre-bye week Russ. Pre-bye week Russ always balls out. Elijah Mitchell, he was projected to have more, but this is his first week being the starting running back for the 49ers, so it's not too out of the ordinary for him to perform at 7.3 points, with Seth winning this matchup by 10 points. And there's the point totals. Jameis Winston had a down week in comparison to last week on the Queso Kings bench. Alvin Kamara, once again, sort of let down this week. George Kittle also scoring pretty low, but you did have decent performances by Marvin Jones, Calvin Ridley, and T. Higgins. Jonathan Taylor didn't put a whole ton of points on the board, but Seth still did manage to win by a good margin. I would say that's based on Russell Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Rod the God putting up 10. He put up less than expected last week, and now he was going overtime. On to your mother's matchup. We have Aaron Jones absolutely murdering the Lions and putting up 41.5 points. This is the biggest slaughter of the year. It's the biggest slaughter in league history. Honestly, I don't think we're ever going to hit this high again. This was an insane matchup. When Miles Sanders was your mother's worst player, at 6.9 points, you know your team is at least decent. When your best player is putting up 41, it's insanity. When you put up 200 total, it's on another level. DMAS couldn't do anything, even with Aaron Rodgers putting up 26.8 points for him. That's nothing in comparison to Mitch's running back putting up 41. And obviously, Joe Mixon, he's a fraud, he's a crook. That's why I called him Richard Mixon at 8.1 points. He balled out week 1, but he's a fraud, so he couldn't put up the points week 2. And DMAS, even though with his performance of 126 points, he couldn't even make it in a close margin to your mother. There's those point totals. Like, the insanity. Kyler Murray, 33. Christian McCaffrey, 24. Aaron Jones, 41. Cooper Kupp, 36. Terry McLaurin, 27. The tight end puts up 14. Miles Sanders, okay, he puts up 7 points, but the rest of the team, you have 5 players putting up more than 24 points. That's insanity. Tyler Bass put up 5. The defense, the Bills defense put up 22 points. This is like 2019 Patriots defense numbers. DMAS's team, sort of, I mean, it wasn't anything great. It wasn't anything horrible, though. Aaron Rodgers, 26 points. Najee Harris, 19 points. DeAndre Hopkins, somewhat of a down week for him, that 15 points. Adam Thielen, 15. Travis Kelce still put up 23, and it was still a absolute murder. Now on to the CD's Nuts matchup with Madison Area Carpet Cleaning. CD's Nuts. Once again, another matchup where you would assume the other team didn't have a chance with the performance of the player of the games. King Henry puts up a league, this season at least, the highest total. I mean, even though it is week 2, I don't think we're getting anybody to surpass this, at least for a while. King Henry puts up 47.7 points. Eric Ebron literally puts up 0 points. 0 points for Brady.
I just don't know what to say. I am genuinely feeling like a strong 0 on this record. It's like a strong 0 to a light 1.
And yet, he wins. Deontay Johnson from Madison Area Carpet Cleaning. When your best player's scoring less than 20 points, it's going to be a rough week, but he still had a high total, so the averages were pretty high. A.J. Brown put up 7.3 as his lowest player. CD's Nuts obviously did win, making his record even, while Madison Area Carpet Cleaning drops to 0-2. And there's those numbers. Tom Brady put up 30 points. Derrick Henry put up almost 50. It doesn't even matter. You go into the matchup on Sunday night with Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire playing. And even though they put up horrible performances, 2.6 points with the fumble and all that, and 5.9 points for Tyreek Hill, he still managed to win because Mike Evans putting up 25 points. Julio put up 18. Derrick Henry's got 50, half of a regular team's performance almost. And then you have Josh Allen, who's having an average week, even though he throws for multiple touchdowns versus the Dolphins. Blows them out, which is why Drew had 0 points. Dalvin Cook puts up 16. Chris Godwin puts up 16. So average week, the Patriots defense did put up good numbers, 19 points. And Daniel Carlson at kicker put up 14 by himself. These are good points, but it's just not enough. Now on to the weekly awards. So the highest scoring bench, we have Lamar. Brady decided to bench him. Not a horrible decision with the way Tom Brady did play. They were only off by 3 points. Lamar scored 3 more points than Tom Brady, so it wasn't a horrible decision in the end, and he did end up winning. Lamar put up 32.26. And the unreal combo, was there any question to this? Aaron Jones with his 4 touchdowns, and Cooper Kupp put up 78.3 combined for your mother. It was an absolute slaughterhouse. I'm sorry, D-Mass. It's really a shame that you had to go into this matchup. It's a shame that you drafted so horribly that you're trying to force teams to trade. That's another topic that's for first take, not even for these videos. King Henry put up 47.7 points. Alvin Kamara, trash can of the week, put up minus 17.66 from his projected. Really underperformed. King Henry just murdered 31.8 over his projected. Now on to the power rankings. Your mother moves up to number 1. The Washington Weasels move up 2 spots to number 2. D-Mass stays stagnant after getting murdered. It's quite something to stay stagnant. You know, you had to perform pretty well. Detroit Legends drop 3 places with their loss. And CD's Nuts rises from the very bottom to the very middle of the pack. People's Temple jumps 1 spot. Seth drops a spot. The Queso Kings dropped 3 spots with their surprising loss to Seth. Madison Area Carpet Cleaning drops 1 spot, and Young Man drops to the very bottom from 9th place. On to next week's matchups. The Queso Kings take on the Washington Weasels, with the projected star to be Ryan Tannehill for the Queso Kings and Dak Prescott for the Washington Weasels. Hopefully you can have a bounce-back week compared to last week. This is supposed to be a very close matchup according to projecteds, within 0.6 points. Young Man takes on the Detroit Legends, and it is not only a battle of AFC West QBs in this matchup, it is a battle of AFC West QBs for the starting spot on Young Man's roster. Will Drew change his roster to start Justin Herbert, or will he start Derek Carr going in this week? Derek Carr is the projected star, obviously, and Mahomes is the projected star. This is going to be a more lopsided matchup according to projections, but I wouldn't put it past Derek to overperform, as he has been consistently putting up good numbers these last 2 weeks. D-Mass, once again, Travis Kelce. This man's a solid player. He was on the Tennessee Thotties, now the Washington Weasels, for 2 seasons. He was a star there. He's been a star for every team he's played on. And he's projected to put up 22.3. There's nothing more to say. Brandon Cooks, surprisingly, is projected to be the highest scoring player for People's Temple, putting up 19.49 projected. This is also projected to be a blowout of sorts. 11 points. That's a pretty big spread. D-Mass hoping to bounce back from last week's slaughter where he got diced and thrown in a garbage can. Madison Area Carpet Cleaning. Josh Allen once again, and Russell Wilson runs once again, projected to be stars for their teams. And once again, this is projected to be the biggest blowout, I'm pretty sure, this week, with a spread of 23 points between the 2 teams' projections. Your mother takes on CD's Nuts, and it is really a battle of rushers. Christian McCaffrey. Does he put up 23.21 points? I think yes. I think he might even put up a lot more, depending on how that Texans defense performs, and CD's Nuts is going to be hoping that Lamar can put up insane numbers. I believe Lamar is playing the Lions, so that's definitely possible. And your mother is projected to blow out CD's Nuts as well. And there's a lot of blowouts this week, and then there's a couple very close matches, maybe 1 or 2. But there's, I'd say, at least 2 of the 5 matches are projected to be absolute murders. We actually have a message coming in, a video message from the owner of your mother. Specially made to DMAS as well as the rest of the league. This is breaking news, per se. And I'll just play that for you. We will have an episode of First Takeout before next week's episode, in between, and it will be a regular thing. And let me just play this video now.
Owner of your mother, I'd like to sincerely apologize to the league and DMAS's team for putting up the most points in league history on him. All I can say is that this for sure solidifies me as the clear favorite to win the league, and my team stands by continuing putting up 200 points.
Okie doke. Thank you for watching, and make sure to come back next week for final scores and next week's preview. It's a pretty fiery message. Pretty bold.